All right, so now moving to the Central City Business Association. Annabelle Turley, the chair, and Mike Percasky. Good to see you both. Welcome to the table.
Thanks for having us.
And Anthony and Paul, are you going to join at the table as well? That would be great. Anthony will. Okay.
Good morning. The Central City Business Association is made up of 452 members, all employing residents of Christchurch. Each of these businesses have invested in the city based on the promise of the blueprint and the anchor projects, which were supposed to be delivered 3 years ago. We do realise that this is not the fault of the council. However, we would really like to partner with the council to help have a thriving central city. A thriving central city is very, very important for the success of Christchurch as a whole. When you go to Wellington, you don't simply go there to visit Johnsonville or Dunedin to simply visit Opaho. Our suburbs have had years of thriving trade since the earthquakes, so now it's a really important time to partner with the central city to ensure that we have a thriving hub. The governance of the Central City Business Association is partnering with a community working group to deliver placemaking and legacy projects to make Christchurch world class. So I'm going to hand over to Mike to talk about.
Yeah, thanks, Annabelle. I could talk for hours about the submission because it's not your average submission. Unfortunately, I only have a few minutes, so I'll touch on the most important part, which I think is placemaking. About 2 years ago, I met Laura, who is actually here. Hi, Laura. And she's a placemaker for Otakaro, and she started me on the Salt District placemaking journey. It started with a small group from the neighbourhood who felt that the Innovation Precinct wasn't the best name for our area. Looking back, what I've realised is that process of changing the name was the most important part of building our salt community. Within weeks, our small group had increased in size, and we were bringing in all sorts of amazing people with amazing skills who just wanted to help out any way they could. We changed our name to Salt District, and I know I'm a bit biased, but it was one of the most successful rebranding exercises I've seen. The reason is that it was done by our neighbourhood for our neighbourhood. It was a true bottom-up community-led project. Best of all for the council, it didn't cost you a cent. The salt community started having regular huies, and we regularly get 30 to 40 people along. We figured out what made salt unique, and one of those things we decided was that we wanted to become world famous for street art. As a group, we wanted to create a huge piece of salt in the Salt Square and buy a projector to make it come alive at night, a first for Christchurch and possibly for New Zealand. The only problem was it was going to cost 250 grand. No problem, said Bree, one of the salt crew, and as a community we set about raising that money. We raised 250k, and I think the council put in about 5k. Incredible bang for buck for the council. The project went on to win Best Major Place Project, which was awarded by Place Leaders Asia Pacific. We flew to Canberra to accept the award. We went on to set up Salt as the first town team in New Zealand. We made town team an international movement. We applied for charitable status for our Salt Trust, and we have recently been granted it. I believe it is the first of its kind in the country. It makes raising money for neighbourhood projects so much easier, and allows us to apply for funding from organisations such as Rata Foundation, Lotteries Commission, Creative New Zealand, etc., and get money that would otherwise end up in Auckland or Wellington to be spent in Christchurch. We can do this across the whole inner city, and we can deliver amazing legacy projects that will put Christchurch on the map and give Christchurch residents city pride and tourist city envy. But the greatest thing is that by doing these projects from the bottom up, we will build true neighbourhood communities. And we are not asking for a handout here, we are asking for you to partner with us. If we get this right, Christchurch Inner City will become a city full of rich experiences. So essentially the submission is a roadmap for turning Christchurch Inner City into an authentic world-class experience. We have the track record, and we have an amazing team who can do the work, but most importantly we have the passion and the drive. But we need your help. So we don't want to talk all day because we don't want to use our minutes up, but if there's any questions, let us know.
All right. Tim.
Thank you, and look, thank you very much. Your new kind of format is outstanding. I think it's a great vision. The question I've got is, we've still got a couple of organisations that were established following the earthquake, and I don't kind of want to target them, but I've got to mention them, like Gap Filler, Greening the Rubble, etc. With your proposal, I see in your last diagram here that they're not mentioned anywhere in here. Do you think it's now time to, say, focus our energies on, say, Christchurch Inc., because you've got the ins to, say, the Salt District and the Strip, etc., so we're better to concentrate on one organisation that can feed into all the areas that you're talking about, rather than higgledy-piggledy? What are you? Because we've only got so much money. We all know we're under pressure, so I'm just looking for best bang for the result.
Exactly. And look, I talk to Ryan all the time, and we're all constantly talking to those guys. And what we want to do exactly, we want an overarching organisation that takes all of that into account, and basically connects all those groups together, and hopefully comes under the same umbrella, and, as you say, use the money wisely, and make sure we're all on the same page and wanting the same outcome. And Ryan's will be all over that.
So let's say if we funded Christchurch Inc. as the sole into, obviously we've got with Christchurch NZ, etc. So would everyone be on board with that?
I've talked to Christchurch NZ for hours and hours and hours about this stuff, and we're all on the same page. Tim and Joanna love this. I'm speaking for them, but they love the concept behind this. They love the partnership, and they love the vision and where it's going to, and they can see where it'll end up. I think it's going to take time to get all that, get all those other organisations aligned in terms of bringing them under the umbrella. But it may not happen the first year, but by year 2, year 3, I think what you'll find is this. If we give the breathe some life into this organisation, it will become the vehicle that we can all use to get the outcomes we want.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. James.
Thank you. I think I speak for everyone when we say that it was pretty exciting reading your submission. It's not your average submission, so thank you for all the work you've done. Look, to put it bluntly, I guess we're kind of at a crossroads where you're coming to council and you're saying you either back us or you don't. So I guess what I want to know is what's the opportunity cost if council doesn't support what you're asking us for? Well,
the funny thing about the cost is, 500 grand, as we all know, is peanuts, really. But it's actually about where we want to end up, and it's about the journey, and it's about saying, look, we're actually going to start down this path. And once we start down the path, it will snowball. I just know, I've seen it happen already, and it will absolutely snowball. So the opportunity cost is potentially the inner city doesn't get this momentum going, and it doesn't get these these legacy projects which will make the inner city an experience, and it slowly just withers and dies. And I've seen it happen already, and I think it really potentially could do that. And I think Anthony would agree that certain parts will always be great, but there'll be other areas of inner city that will just flounder. And I think if we don't start breathing life into those areas and giving them a reason for people to go and go there and experience it and get passionate about those little areas, we've got some real issues on our hands. And as I say, I think funny enough, the money, you're actually spending some of this money, quite a lot of this money in the inner city already on projects that probably are not world class. So if you can just move that money across sideways, it won't even cost you anymore. And you'll get this amazing outcome that will blow all your minds. Honestly, it will. Trust me. When we did Riverside, it doubled the foot traffic in Christchurch overnight. Because we sort of knew if we're going to do this right, we need to give Christchurch residents something they want. And we're all whinging about parking and all this stuff. And we were just saying it's not that. We just haven't given people what they want yet. As soon as we give them what they want, boom, they came in their droves. And it'll happen again if we get this right.
Thank you. Leanne.
Yeah, like the others, I was inspired by your submission. It was not something that I'd seen around the table for the number of years that I've been in this role. So congratulations on that. What I really liked what you said about was that you're not wanting to replace anyone. You want to partner right across the board so that everyone brings their skill set to the table. And it's kind of like that, and that's the phrase I always get the wrong way around. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So if we all invest a certain amount, then what we get out of it is far more than if any one of us tried to do it alone.
Absolutely funny you should say it, because in my initial draft I had that exact saying, because it's exactly what it was. What it was when we did Little High. So for some reason that place is just so much busier and more amazing than it is just the 7 operators in there. And it's when you sort of create something that does become that, the whole becomes bigger than the sum of the parts. And I think that's what will happen here. You know, I really feel the momentum with this group we've got. They are really clever, they're really passionate, they've got amazing ideas, but they've got the skill to deliver it too. And, you know, I think with little amounts of money, we'll go out and raise tenfold.
Yeah.
You know, we'll turn that.
But it becomes the leverage for investors that aren't necessarily investing in Christchurch right now.
That's right, yeah. So you can go to a corporate and you say, look, this is what we wanted to achieve, and that vision just gives them the ability to chuck money in and snowball it.
The last question is just that I want you to say yes to this, because I bet my colleagues from the east are thinking, oh God, we need this for New Brighton. You know, it is a model that could be replicated in other parts of the city as well, partnership.
Absolutely, and Laura, we've already been talking about that, and the great thing about that SALT model is it's so potent, and it can be dropped anywhere. It can. It's a. What's that?
You could pepper pot it. Then it would be salt and pepper pot. Right, sorry. Yeah.
That's great. So thank you very much indeed for giving us what you've described in the very first line as a transformational submission. Certainly you've set the bar very high, but thanks for the opportunity and thanks for coming along and presenting it to us today. Thanks very much.
Thanks for listening to us. Yeah, cheers.